And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a new party game from R&R Games called Spit It Out. Now, R&R Games has made many party games over the years. The one they're probably most famous for is Time's Up or maybe Smarty Pants. And what I find interesting about R&R Games is they put out several games over the course of the year. And they put out a lot of party games. But every year they put out one party game which I feel is just like the party game. Well, this year that game is Spit It Out. Now, I know I'm giving away my opinion before the review, but if you go back and look at our GAMA coverage of the GAMA trade show, we did a video on Spit It Out where we actually played it, and it was just so much fun there. And then I played it again, and I played it again. Really enjoyed the game. Let me show you how it plays. Spit It Out has a box of cards that you'll be pulling from this container here with a card to keep track. They have two different sides. The size doesn't really matter. So one player is going to go first, and that player is going to be rolling 2 dice. That player, so here I rolled a 3 and a 5. That player is going to be asked 6 questions. They're going to be asked those questions while a timer is running. So, for example, what is the opposite of crazy? Now, if this is question 3 or question 5, it's not. This is question 1. I need to answer question 3 and 5 truthfully. The rest of the questions I need to answer incorrectly, but in a spirit. So, for example, here I couldn't say chicken. Okay, that doesn't make sense. But I could say, what's the opposite of crazy? I could say insane, because that's something that fits the spirit, but it's not true. Or haste makes neatness. Name a suit in a standard deck of playing cards. Well, here I would say hearts, because that is a suit in a standard deck of playing cards. What's the opposite of winning? Triumph would be my answer there. Name an ingredient in a banana split. Here I would say banana, because this is question 5, and question 5 is correct. In what sport can you make a field goal? Baseball. So that's basically how it works. Now, if you're going to keep track, and there's a score pad, which we don't use very often. We just kind of play to see how many points people get. But if you get all 6 questions, you'll get a bonus point. Otherwise, you get 1 point for each question that you did correctly. Okay, you got that? Well, now it's your turn. Okay, so we're going to roll the dice for you. By the way, if you roll the same number like I just did, you would only need to get number 2 correct. But we're not going to do that. We're going to give you 2 different numbers to mess you up. So 5 and 6. All right, so here we go. You will say these, okay? Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4 have to be wrong. 5 and 6 have to be right. Name a brand of soda. Oh, for you guys in Georgia, I mean Coke. What makes you laugh? What's another word for heavy? To whom do you send a greeting card? First come, first. What place gets robbed often? Now, these are things questions, and it goes pretty quickly like that. You'll notice that if you have numbers like 5 and 6, that's actually a pretty easy one, because you just have to remember the last 2, or 1 and 2, or things like that. But you just keep playing different rounds, going around the table, people taking turns reading and answering. After everyone has been the spitter, that's the person who answers twice, the game is over, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Now, obviously, that overview isn't enough for you to see the game in action. I mean, it's one of those games that, you can play, and when you play, you're like, oh, because it's hilarious how your mind goes to do the correct answer. And then you got to think of an incorrect answer that's within the spirit of the rules. And that's pretty easy in retrospect, but in the actual course of the game, it's much more difficult to do that. So the whole time I'm like, okay, all right, so what's the opposite of good? And you're like, I want to say bad, not evil. Not evil is good, good, wonderful. And the timer is running, and so that's a problem, so you got to quick spit it out, and which makes the game funny. Sometimes it's easier for some players than the others, and so we kind of play it more of an activity, although, again, you can keep score and see who wins. But it's just funny to see what happens. Usually we just see who's the best in each round. The game itself has a huge amount of replayability, because even if you go through every single card, you don't know what order the cards are going to come up in, and they're very basic things anyway. They're things anybody could make up. What's one of the colors of the rainbow? Black. whatever it is. And then every once in a while you have to answer them correctly. Now, whether something's within the spirit of the rules, well, that's where you'll run into differentiation, because some people are going to, maybe argue over the finer points of that. But for the most part, that's just to the, left to the judgment of the table. And this game has just been a rip-roaring time. Almost every time I brought it out. Really enjoy it. Glad to have it. Spit it out. Dice Tower Judgment into my collection.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Chiudi la porta!